Hi folks, this is all the fruit. And if I have to name one plant that's typical for my city of Heidelberg in Germany, well, the name Heidelberg is similar to huckleberry, so most people would say, yeah, it's the huckleberry, because Mark Twain wrote Huckleberry Finn in the city of Heidelberg, and that's why he named him Huckleberry. And yeah, there are lots of huckleberries in the mountains, but you know what's also very common in the Heidelberg mountains? It's the European chestnut. I am very lazy. I should have done this video like 2 weeks ago, because 2 weeks ago, I think I showed this in some other video, the hills around Heidelberg, they were spotted with pale green spots. Some of them, well, pale yellow rather, some of them quite small where they were single trees, and some of them quite big where there were actually not old forests but old chestnut plantations. Now 2 weeks later they are gone. Actually, one of the Forest Service people told me years ago, each year when the chestnut is flowering in the Heidelberg hills or mountains, there are over 1,000 beehives which are being driven into the Heidelberg hills, and many thousand more beehives driven into the hills of the towns and villages around Heidelberg to collect the very plentiful chestnut nectar. Now they are all being driven back because unfortunately there is not much else right now flowering in the forests. And bees are a lot of beekeepers will not like what I say, but bees are basically invasive species which is being cultivated in the industrial mass cultivation. So basically they are being just brought in the forest for 2 weeks for profit and then brought back, but still good that somebody is using the chestnut nectar. Well, here is one tree. Yeah, the chestnut in the forest, it often grows as a tall single stem tree. Here on the university campus of Heidelberg, there is one that grows like a bush. Basically, the chestnut makes a lot of root shoots and suckers. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, we removed all those. There was basically a giant maze of offshoots, about 3 meters or 10 feet tall, and we cut them just a couple weeks ago to feed them to the elephants. Or was it to the camels? Well, we definitely cut them for the zoo. Now new ones are coming. So whenever a chestnut can grow, it will grow kind of bush-like. And this is a beautiful ornamental giant chestnut bush here on the Heidelberg University campus. And actually a lot of people who don't go to the forest regularly, they collect the little chestnuts here in autumn. Chestnut collection is some sort of rite of passage. When you come to Heidelberg, either from other parts of Germany or from other parts of the world, Heidelberg is very famous among international students. In the month of October, some friend will take you to the hills, to the forest, to collect chestnuts. It's like you go to a bar, you jump from the old bridge, you break into the Heidelberg castle. Okay, maybe I'm the only one doing those things, but basically collecting chestnuts is a rite of passage when you come to Heidelberg. And for thousands of years, chestnuts have been the most important food in Mediterranean and sub-Mediterranean mountains. And when the Romans came here, they basically only conquered the part of Germany where you could grow wine and chestnuts. And that's why from the Roman time chestnuts are here present in the city of Heidelberg. And actually when you look at old medieval and more or less Renaissance and Baroque paintings and stitches of Heidelberg, you will see that there are no forests around Heidelberg because you have to defend the city. It was a capital, a highly fortified city, except for the chestnut forest, because even more important than the defense of the city was the feeding of the city. And then actually Heidelberg fell because of those chestnuts. They kept it alive for centuries and then they killed it because the enemy was able to sneak next to the city wall through the chestnut groves. But long story short, so the fruits were incredibly important as food in parts of the Mediterranean until the second half of the 20th century. In Germany, well, until the hungry years after World War II. The nectar from the flowers is very important for bees. But I was thinking, what if you take the male flowers and take the pollen and the stamens and all this stuff and make a type of flower out of it? I'm too late. I was too busy the last couple of weeks. Right now I could still do it, but it wouldn't be as fresh and as plentiful as a couple of weeks ago. So I'm really wondering whether I should do it. But my idea was pollen and flowers of so many species are being cultivated. Chestnut pollen is incredibly common. The trees grow in masses. After flowering, the male flowers fall to the ground. Look at that, those herbs are covered in those male flowers. And just by touching them, you can get so many nail stamens and pollen and stuff. Pollen is incredibly nutritious. Flowers are usually not very nutritious, except for Feijoa and some other notable exceptions. But this mass of food in June, when it's still kind of, the lean springtime is slowly ending, but it's still not the harvest time in late summer. What if you took a lot of those things and then just put them on a flat surface, let's say a road or a piece of linen, and then you collect those things, or even you take the whole thing and get it through a mill. Stuff tastes a little bit like sawdust, feels like fine sawdust. Tastes also a little bit like nectar and grass, but mostly sawdust. But what if you take this thing and use it, for example, for porridges or for making bread and cakes? I looked a lot to the internet trying to find methods of using this stuff, but there seems to be nothing. Right now I'm too lazy to do this, but if somebody of you lives in a Chestnut area and wants to take like a big piece of plastic, put a lot of armfuls of those things on top of that, squeeze them a little bit, and then collect this dust, which is mostly stamens, into a bag, and then do a couple experiments. Can you do a good porridge with it? Can you add it to a soup, and does it add something to the soup? Can you make a bread? I mean, often normal flour was supplemented with stuff which was just a filler. Doesn't necessarily need to be nutritious. But if you can double the size of your bread, your family, they might not get a lot of nutrition out of it, but at least they will go to bed with a full stomachs. What do you think, folks? Can somebody of you do this experiment? Collect like a big bag full of this stuff and do a couple cooking experiments with it? Because I think I will not have time to do it in the next couple days, and soon the stuff will be completely gone. So folks, please tell me your ideas about this stuff. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful and incredibly sunny, we're again in a horrible heat and drought wave, city of Heidelberg. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.